So welcome everyone. This is our annual member meeting for all the work that we've accomplished in 2025. And then we'll be recording this first portion of the presentation part. We encourage everyone in attendance to ask questions via chat or chat with us if you have things you want us to follow up with. But we're going to stop recording at the end of the presentation and really open up space for a dialogue and for us to listen to you about your priorities for next year. So welcome to the member meeting. So the purpose really today is for, we're going to look back on our work on the past year, celebrate our achievements, and then make time to hear from you. So thank you so much for joining us. And a little bit of housekeeping. We will share the link to the slides in the chat at some point along the way so you can see all the slides. We also will be posting the video along with the slides after the fact. So if there's any portion that you missed, or you had to step away, you'll be able to access that later. We encourage you to submit any questions via chat or through the Q&A function. We're hoping that this will be a little under an hour for the presentation part, saving at least 30 minutes for Q&A. We may be a little faster or a little slower than that, depending on how many questions come throughout the presentation portion. And just a reminder here that we will stop the recording before the Q&A. So if you have any feedback you wanted to give or any questions you want to ask that you don't want to be part of the formal presentation, save it for the end. And then the next slide, LAAC is small. Sometimes our members are surprised at how small we are, but I thought it would help if you just saw everyone who worked at LAAC over the past year, including, of course, our summer fellow as well. So everyone is going to give if they're here for the meeting today, they're going to give a quick hello. And that way you'll be able to put faces to names and feel more comfortable reaching out to us. So I think Katie's up first because our first two folks are currently in class right now.
Hi everyone. Katie, she, her, Senior Communications and Development Coordinator. I wasn't sure if there was anything else beyond that to add to the introductions, Lena.
Feel free to add what you work on at LAAC if you think that's helpful.
Yeah,
We
so
would hear from you, basically.
not only do I cover what's in my title, but I also do a lot of membership stuff, which you'll hear me talk about in a little bit.
Oh, and next up is me. I am the executive director. You hear from me all the time.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I'm the Senior Finance and Operations Manager, and you definitely hear from me about membership and also anything related to billing throughout the year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren, and I am the Director of Advocacy. I work on all of LAAC's advocacy programs.
I'm Kasha, she, her. I'm the senior attorney supervising our law help and trainings teams.
Hi, everybody. Zach Newman, he, him. I am the directing attorney at LAAC. I work mostly on our advocacy team, but I also lead our research and evaluation stuff, which I will talk about later.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rianne Pacheco. I'm our Senior Advocacy Coordinator. I primarily work on the advocacy team, but I also work on the DEI team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Valencia, and I'm our Law Help Coordinator. So my role is to help manage the resource and all of the website functioning for our Law Help site.
Hi, everyone. Leos Raymond, pronouns they, them. I'm the Equity and Community Programs Manager. I primarily work on law help and help steward our DEI accessibility and racial justice work.
Thank you, Theo. And we also have very many law student volunteers, largely for our law help project. They do live chat assistance for people who come to the website. We also have some law students throughout the year who volunteer for our advocacy team as well. So we're going to shift gears now to the actual presentation piece. We're going to start with the advocacy team. They're going to go first, and then we'll hear from other teams after that.
Hi, everyone. Like I said, I'm Lauren, and I lead LAAC's advocacy team, which includes Rianne, Zach, Selena, lots of work study students, and help from lots of other team members as well. I wanted to start off by just outlining what LAAC's perennial advocacy priorities are. We, of course, have different priorities that arise as conditions change out there, but our perennial priorities are always the same. Our top priority is always to protect or increase funding for legal services. Our budget advocacy and other types of funding advocacy are always at the top of our priority list. Our other perennial priorities are to protect or improve access to courts and to protect or improve access to or delivery of legal services. And lastly, it is a priority always to coordinate the legal aid community's response to important issues. This often involves responding to changes made at the state bar, but could be changes coming from any direction. As I said, funding is always our top priority, so we will start there. I wanted to give you a recap on our work this year. Our work started out a little differently than usual. There was a special legislative session that the governor called shortly after Trump was elected. The intention of the session was to appropriate some funding specifically to the Attorney General's office to help prepare for Trump's presidency. We worked very hard to advocate that funding should go not just to the Attorney General's office, but to legal services organizations, because you all will play such an important role in responding to those policy changes and helping people that are dealing with the changes. Ultimately, we were successful in getting $25 million in new funding for legal services, which was fantastic. This included a $10 million bump to the Equal Access Fund, a $10 million bump to CDSS's immigration legal services program, and $5 million in new California Access to Justice Commission infrastructure and innovation grants. After the special session ended, we moved on to the regular legislative session, which is where we usually advocate for more funding. The state is facing a huge budget deficit this year, and we encountered a lot of people asking for a lot of money to make up for so many federal funding cuts. So it was pretty tough out there. We were able to protect legal aid funding. It was not cut at all, which we were very proud of because it was such a tough budget year, but there was no new funding added in the regular session. We also do other types of work, not just at the legislature, to increase funding for legal services. One important thing we did this year was to make sure that your access to funding would be protected if you lost your nonprofit status due to policy changes on the federal level. So we supported a bill that was sponsored by Cal Nonprofits that would maintain your access to different types of state funding if your nonprofit status was pulled, and we advocated at the state bar to ensure that you would still be eligible for your IOLTA funding if your nonprofit status was pulled by the Trump administration. So we're really happy that that is in place should that start to happen. We always work as part of a coalition of organizations to advocate for Victims of Crime Act funding. This has been a very strong federal source of funding for many years, but it has been dropping. So we work as a coalition to get the state to backfill some of those dollars, which has been successful in the last couple of years, which is great. We've supported some other organizations that have advocated to continue funding through the California Housing Finance Agency, services for homeowners to prevent foreclosures. The National Housing Law Project has been a real leader in this area, and we've been happy to support trying to get that funding continued. And then we also have formed a California Legal Aid Interagency Roundtable, which ultimately the goal will be to increase some funding for your work. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later. We would really like to hear where you have funding needs. We know everyone is losing federal funding. Everyone is seeing an increase in demand. Right now, we are shaping up our advocacy plans for 2026. So please use the chat. We want to hear from you. What projects at your organizations are underfunded? What areas have you seen the biggest funding cuts? And what types of services do you anticipate you will see the most increase in demand? We're always seeking that type of information from you so we know where to focus our advocacy efforts in 2026.
As folks think about what you want to chat, you should always email anyone on our advocacy team if you have ideas for some of our legislative work. Rhiann's going to be talking a little bit more about our policy advocacy soon. But specifically on budget, we really do want to hear from members, because if we don't understand how much organizations may be relying on a particular federal funding source, and so if we know that it's at risk, then we can really talk with not only state legislators, but also other agencies and with other funders like the Legal Services Funders Network or the California Access to Justice Commission, like other stakeholders may be able to help temporarily fill the gap. So that's why we really want to hear from you.
Thanks, Lena. Next, I'll give you a little update on what we call our Justice in Government project, which we've been doing for several years to increase collaboration and cooperation between legal aid organizations and state government. This is work that was inspired by the Federal Legal Aid Interagency Roundtable, LAAR, and we've been moving that forward, like I said, for several years. What's exciting about this year is that we finally formed an actual roundtable in California. In the past, we kind of did the work piecemeal, worked with one agency at a time, but we formed an actual roundtable that met all year. There are 7 participating agencies, which we hope will grow. We've done spotlights for them on different issues so they can understand what legal aid does. We are identifying best practices for legal aid organizations to partner with these agencies, and we're really excited about where this work will go moving forward, particularly as the state budget hopefully recovers and these agencies have some more funding available to them to potentially fund legal aid organizations to partner with them. I'll pass it over to Rian next.
Hey everybody, Rianne here. Just another reminder of things that the advocacy team does is coordinate y'all throughout the year, whether that be our Civil Legal Aid Day in Sacramento or our new policy retreat that we're starting to make more established. So just a glimpse into our Legal Aid Day in Sacramento. We do this every year. This next year will be, I think, our 9th consecutive year. And it's basically a day where you could come and talk to your legislators and let them know about the good work that you're doing for their constituents and ultimately advocate for our legal aid funding. I'll give a glimpse into what we're doing next year, but I'll say that for a little bit later. And then next we do is our policy retreat. This year we held it back in, oh my goodness, in late summer, and it was in Sacramento. We started it last year, and we have hopes to do this now as a yearly thing where we gather and identify some common policy goals for the legal aid community. We did have, if we could go on to the next slide, we did have some things come out of the policy retreat that we're really excited about. But we also do other coordination work, including our policy advocates listserv. This is a group of folks that work on policy issues. We do monthly calls, which is pretty active, and the listserv is pretty active. So if you're not already on this, please let me know and I can add you. We also do a number of pop-up calls for directors of litigation and advocacy. That's the DOLA listserv. That happens throughout the year. And again, if you ever have an issue that you want to discuss with the whole community, we are happy to coordinate for you for that. We also find opportunities to do amicus work, and we are always monitoring judicial council commenting just to try to make sure that we are staying on top of things for our community. I think this one is Zach.
Hi again, everyone. Zach Newman, LAAC's directing attorney. Firstly, I'm just going to add on to what Rianne said to quickly speak to one highlight for our other advocacy coordination. As one critical part of our coordination work, we worked a lot this year on the rules revision process, which many of you have hopefully heard about, which is happening at the state bar. This process deals with the bar's ongoing multi-year efforts to reform and update the rules that govern the IOLTA and EAF community. This year and every year, we focused on keeping members consistently informed and organized around State Bar and Legal Services Trust Fund Commission meetings, which includes flagging key agenda items and helping programs understand what's coming. We also coordinated substantial community feedback that played a meaningful role in the bar's decision to pause and seek additional input through focus groups for the Support Center rules proposal. That was kind of a big one in the last few months. Lastly, we also gathered feedback and submitted comments on other policies like the investment policy rules, along with updates to real property and financial requirements policies. I should note that this will be ongoing into next year, and so you'll continue hearing from me and Selena about this.
And I
Next
want
slide,
to
please.
add something here that
Yes.
what Zach and I do that takes a lot of time is the state bar hosts, state bar staffs the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission. And a lot of people in our community sign up for the updates. And so when the agenda is posted for an event, but you may not know what the content is likely to be. And LAAC staff read every single thing that's posted for every single meeting and subcommittee. And we're usually able to kind of read what's about to happen, and we will let you know if there's something that is troubling. So Zach and I spend a lot of time saying like, oh, what organizations could be impacted by this? Let's affirmatively reach out to them. And I would love for y'all to understand you can also reach out to us. If you have a heads up from State Bar staff that one of your issues will be coming on a future meeting, maybe there's something that the work that you're doing that the State Bar says is no longer qualifying, or they're asking you to do something that you haven't done in the past. If you reach out to us, we can often talk you through what to expect. So, in past meetings, I have reached out to EDs and said, looks like the State Bar is recommending, XYZ. If you like that recommendation, you should support it, because Legal Services Trust Fund commissioners love to hear when we support staff recommendation. But if you would like that recommendation to change, LAAC can give a comment, as a public comment or the liaison comment in support of what you would like it to look like. And we also can kind of talk you through the politics of commissioners and what they like to hear and what they don't like to hear. And so just in the one 2 to 3 week period, there were 5 meetings. And Zach and I probably read over 200 or 300 pages of memos with attachments. So we do that work because you may not realize that one of these proposals could impact you and impact your funding. But I just really want to encourage you, if you think one of your issues could be coming forward and you want to talk it through, consider us a partner and what to expect in these meetings.
Absolutely. Thank you, Selena. Looking forward for our advocacy, we are expanding opportunities for advocacy-related collaboration. As we've heard from you all, that this is just very essential and positive in terms of community building and getting together and connecting. And so that includes creating more working groups focused on key policy issues, offering more chances to connect in person, hosting more policy retreats, and ultimately planning an extended in-person day in Sacramento, which is, as Rhiannon described, the annual Legislator Education Day that we put together, but hoping to build it out a little bit more this coming year.
And then I could share a little bit more. Coming from our policy retreat, we did come up with some issues that we think that would make great working groups. That is something to look forward to next year. We have a number of working groups in the works, so it's something like budget or communications or just overall coordination. I am currently working on a codex for that type of work that is going to have a lot of information all in one place for y'all to have access to, what other organizations are doing, who's leading the policy work, what organizations have relationships with what legislators. It's going to be sort of like a catch-all kind of thing, and we are having a working group to get more information out of that. So things to look forward to and emails to look forward to coming from us. And then I'm excited to also say we have found that these in-person events have been really beneficial, not only to the actual strategies that are coming out of it, but also just creating community with one another. So we want to host more, and that is the goal. And so we are extending Day in SAC to be a 2-day event to include a legislative briefing, a press conference, a happy hour, and then also saving one day to be a day that you actually do your own legislative meetings, and then the next day be a day that we do targeted legislative meetings. Look out for an email from me from that this week. I have a save the date coming out and a glimpse into the schedule for that. And then more policy retreats. These have been found to be very beneficial for all of us, and a lot of great work has been coming out of it. So we only do it once a year right now, but we're hoping that maybe that could be more.
Amazing. Thank you, Rhiannon.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
Lastly for me, so while I mostly work on our advocacy work, like I said, I also lead our research and evaluation efforts. And so overall in this area, our goals are generally to, 1, create original research, and then 2, to support members with their own research and data collection. And that's kind of manifested in a number of different ways. But our current projects have included primarily work with One Justice on consumer debt and pro bono cohorts, which also includes the 2025 California Pro Bono Report that just came out. That is available on our website, but hopefully many of you have seen that. Otherwise, one of the other main things I do that's on our website are a couple of helpful web pages that I maintain. One is the legal aid data resources list, and the other is our Access to Justice and Legal Aid research page. And so the second one is kind of just a compendium of helpful articles and various other media reports about access, justice, and legal aid. And then the legal aid data resources list is kind of a primer that I put together with the help of our working group around helpful legal aid data points that you can use for development purposes, media purposes, whatever. So that's also available on our website. I think the last thing I want to mention, I've been running a couple of surveys recently that are kind of more of our community-facing research projects, which includes our annual member survey, which we really use for priority setting and strategic planning, and I usually produce a report for that. And then the tech survey report, which just came out, which basically just seeks to understand technology trends and from legal research software to CMSs to AI use, everything in between. I think that's it for me. Thank you, everybody.
Now we're moving on to the next team, which is our membership and communications team. And I'm going to kick it over to Katie.
Hey everybody. So like I was saying earlier, I manage a lot of the membership stuff, specifically around member benefits, organizational discounts. There's a list of them on the next slide, roughly broken down between software, technology stuff, and training. So for software, we do offer discounts. We work with LexisNexis and Westlaw on discounts. Just this past year, LexisNexis met with us to talk a little bit more about their new Co-Counsel AI offering, which they're really excited about. Essentially, it's a little bit confusing how this works, but you do mention that essentially you talk with the vendors themselves and they're like aware of us, and that's how the discount works. So we're in touch with some of these services, and we're always interested in adding new ones as well. So if you know of some kind of program that you think might be a good candidate for a LAAC member discount, reach out and hopefully we can work something out with them. And we also we work with NITA and Capital seminars on free and discounted trainings as well. Just this past year, we reactivated Voices for Civil Justice California, which is a bunch of things. It's a website with resources, it's a list host, it is a series of meetings that we put together to coordinate comm staff. In the next year, we're hoping to do more sort of like broader strategic coordination, working with some folks who have been thinking about that, and talking about how to message and do strategy within our community, as well as really practical ways that we can get the word out about what legal aid is and the important work that all of you do. Our next meeting, like it says here, is on Friday, December 12th. You can email me, kburnett@laaconline.org, to get an invitation for that. You can also sign up for the list host here, cavoices.org. And we're really interested in continuing to expand this work too. So I'm excited to talk to any of you who have ideas or thoughts.
Thank you, Katie. Next up is a training team, but I'm going to be presenting for the training team because Kasia has lost her voice. I think, technically on the training team because I ran trainings at LAAC long ago, and I still provide a lot of historical knowledge. So the first thing I just want to share with everyone that the training team has done in the last year is we created a new trainer section. This actually was a complete copy of NLADA. NLADA, for those of you who are members of NLADA, we were a copy of NLADA back in 1983 when we were founded. And I was looking at their structure to see what they did that we could replicate even now. And they have a trainer section. And I thought that was a really great idea. And everyone at LAAC was really excited about the idea of gathering trainers. We already gather affinity groups based on like job function or role. And we have DOLA, we have support centers, and it really made sense to create a trainer section. So that was launched in the last year. And it's a really fantastic place. If you are somebody at your organization who does training for lawyers or training for staff with a focus on legal issues, join the training section. We share, sometimes we just talk about MCLE reporting to the state bar, kind of the mechanics of that, if there's any best practices. We will also, people will share kind of like different software that they may be using for internal trainings for their own staff. But it's also a place where you can ask other organizations, how are you training on XYZ? And people often will share with each other of, oh, we're going to do this training. It's where we get a lot of really good ideas for the community of what could be a community-wide training. So I love the trainer section. I think we launched it in late 2024, but it's really this year is where it's really gotten going. And we're already talking about 2026. We're planning some evidence trainings. We'll do quarterly convenings with a trainer section. And we're also continuing to kind of monitor what are the federal changes and what does our community need to know about that. And on the next slide, just we offer a ton of trainings. I was even surprised by this. We had over 43 hours of trainings online that addressed urgent topics. We do some kind of crimmigration stuff. We've popped up a lot of trainings on student loans, either us doing it or us working in partnership with someone, or us just promoting literally everything we see about student loans. We try to share out with the community. And we've also done a training on utility justice issues. We try to really respond to member requests for training. So if there's a training that, and you can't find who's doing the training, let us know. Sometimes we can just find a trainer, pay a consultant, and have them run the training for us. We've been doing a lot of trainings on federal policy changes. And also if we see something out there, we try to get the word out, especially if it's a national training that's appropriate for our community. We continue to partner with NEDA. This is one of the most popular features of our member benefits is that because we do most of the staffing to help run the NEDA training and all they have to do is come in and train, we're able to offer these NEDA trainings for free for our members. So NEDA still does scholarships. If you have new staff and you have to get them trained right away through NEDA, they still offer some scholarships you have to apply for. But LAAC usually does a couple of NEDA trainings per year for completely free for our members. We also are looking beyond just the MCLE and we're looking at other professional development. We're looking at trainings for new attorneys, for experienced attorneys, trainings for people who are not attorneys on staff. We've done a lot of trauma-informed lawyering and trauma-informed practices trainings over the last year. And in the last year, we've built on our core curriculum series. The slide will advance in 1 second. We built on our core curriculum series. I did a training on legal aid acronyms. So I know a lot of newer staff are just, it takes a little bit of time to get used to the acronyms. And so I did a short training on, what is NLADA? What is Legal Services Trust Fund Commission? What is CalETJ? Just the acronyms that we tend to use pretty regularly once we're a couple of years in, but it helps newer staff to learn those acronyms too. We did training on client interview techniques. We've done several trainings on burnout prevention. We are continuing to expand our online training library, including, we're really hoping it's a one-stop shop that if you can find any training you need either through LAAC or if it's not us, that we show you where to find those trainings. As part of this commitment, I welcome all new executive directors and interim executive directors to our community and make sure they know what training is out there. So part of my welcome is, are you aware of MIE's trainings? Are you aware that you can join MIE to get discounts on trainings? Are you aware of the conferences that people tend to go to? We talk a lot about trainings for the broader nonprofit community that are great for legal aid. Like the Management Center has great trainings, and we don't want to replicate trainings that are already out there that are fantastic models, but what we want to do is get the word out so people understand that they can access these trainings completely designed for nonprofit staff. We've also hosted this year several DEI related trainings, including assisting clients seeking gender affirming care, disability rights issues for employees under the new administration. And we've got kind of a series of work that we're doing around family preparedness for ICE action. So we have a lot of trainings and a lot of these ideas came out from conversations with you. So please keep your requests coming. And so this is just a little bit more on our trainings with equity, technology, and advocacy. We do training on legal impacts on trans youth in sports. I mentioned earlier we've done some crimmigration trainings. And we also, I know our community is really interested in adopting AI. There's been a ton of trainings on AI and legal aid. We hosted training on some concerns with AI and equity and bias. So just if you're going to adopt AI, these are some of the things you should be aware of. So if you didn't catch these live, they're all available on our website. We also hosted our very first bilingual interpreted webinar, and we've increased programming on security, disability rights, and public benefits. So again, all of our trainings are available on our website on demand. Some of our trainings are for members only, and it's always really clear that you get access to it by being staff at a current LAAC member organization. Which brings me to the next one, which is we have a special members only training coming up in just a couple of weeks. I'm going to drop the registration link into the chat, but I also just sent it out to DOLA and to all executive directors who are members of LAAC. We have heard just a lot of concerns about infiltration of our community. There's been a lot of kind of we got an employee saying this, and perhaps a use of social media to try to trap people into saying things. And it's time that we just have a conversation with the organization about how you can protect against those kind of communication risks. So this is a members only training. Space is really limited just because of the size of the Zoom room. And so we're limiting it to 2 staff per LAAC member organization. I encourage you to use up those spaces and send your 2. Several of our member organizations have also sponsored, and so they get an extra seat. So if you're a sponsor, you get 3 seats. It's going to be on December 15th at noon. And if there's high interest in this, we may repeat it because this is a consultant who specializes in this area, and they are going to, they can offer follow-up trainings too. So I hope people can come to this. Let me know if you really want to send a whole lot more. Maybe you could sponsor and get an extra seat. That's gonna be December 15th, and we'll drop the registration link in just a second. And I'm gonna turn it over to the Law Help team next.
Hi everyone, my name is Valencia. Just to reintroduce myself, I am the Law Help Coordinator and also wanted to take a brief moment to introduce our small but mighty team. So Kasha and Theo, who are on the call today, and then we also have Yoslin, who is our training coordinator, and Mary, who's our legal technology program assistant. And so just for a little overview of what Law Help is and what we do, Law Help is California's free statewide legal resource and referral site. So our site breaks down complex legal issues into 16 main topics and over 140 subtopics. So we cover everything from family and housing to immigration, consumer rights, and even disaster relief, with the ultimate goal of connecting Californians in need to legal aid and information. And so some great things that we've been able to do over the past year is helping to improve legal resources and information access. Responding to changes at the federal level was one of the primary challenges that we wanted to address. And so we've been able to update and reorganize our immigration law resources and also added more resources from our member organizations related to interactions with ICE. We've also updated and reorganized our disaster resource page, which is linked from the front page of our Law Help site, in order to respond to the LA fires earlier this year, and we continue to update and respond to new disasters regularly. We've also taken a look at some of our consumer resources that we offer on the site. So we've updated our scam resources page as we've seen more requests recently for help for people who have been victims of scams and people helping family members who are actively being scammed. And there's going to be some links to the disaster resources and the scam resources information in the chat, just in case you're interested in looking. Another great feature that we have on our Law Help site is our live chat function, which is a vital part of our live chat volunteer program. So we've had a record number of applicants for our live chat program, and I always like to talk about them because they're a critical part of helping to assist people who are looking for resources on our site. And in case anyone ever applies to one of your organizations and mentions that they did live chat, I think it's important that you know what it is that they do. So this is a pipeline project for legal aid. It's a flexible remote volunteer opportunity, which is often rare, but this is a way for people who are facing any barriers to getting experience to also have some exposure, while also helping individuals who are looking on our site for legal information. So some of the skills that we have involve trauma-informed care, issue spotting, learning the legal resource landscape, exploring a diverse set of legal practice areas, and we really emphasize our volunteers, again, helping to provide opportunities and resources for individuals looking on the site. So it's a really great volunteer program that we've been able to facilitate and a really important part of our Law Help site functioning. And I will now go ahead and pass it over to Theo.
Thanks, Valencia. Yeah, so I can talk a little bit more about some of the numbers coming out of our live chat program. So our approximately 30 volunteers this year did almost 3,000 chats with approximately 263,000 users on the site. Of those, 92% of the chats were rated positively. The data we get is always really interesting. As I'm sure you all are familiar, housing is perennially the most popular and urgent, one of the most urgent legal problems in California. So by far, we had 27.4% of our chats were around housing. Family law and consumer tend to jockey for second place. So this year, consumer took it with family law in the third, and then work and probate, wills, and trusts were other recognizable categories, with of those 16 plus others kind of falling into that 25.1%. And then, yeah, a couple other updates, both on the technical side and just some of our programmatic work. We've been doing a lot of work around language access in recent years. And this year we rolled out a new digital translation tool. I believe it is the 17 most commonly spoken languages in California to translate all the content on the site. But we are always looking for more translated resources. We also did a lot of outreach work, building connections with nonprofits and community groups across California. Our outreach coordinator, Yoslin, did a big project looking at rural outreach, particularly in the Central Valley and Inland Empire, did multiple presentations to education, local aging services, legal aid members, and community workers to make sure they knew about Law Help, how to use the tool, and that we could also get feedback about how to best serve our communities. And then, yeah, Yoslin also has been shifting responsibilities to focus more on training. So we've welcomed Valencia as a new team member to deepen and expand that work in the year ahead. We're very excited to do. And then, yeah, as always, the annual ask, please help us make the site as best as it can be for our communities. So we're always looking, we do annual audits to make sure all the information on the site is up to date, but definitely welcome if you're ever there and you see some of the information could perhaps be better on your organization, or maybe y'all have a new clinic that you just opened up this year. Please reach out to Kasha at kmarkham@LAAC Online to share resources. Similarly, if you put out like a new guide to housing law or a new guide for your community, we would love to have that on the site. So please let us know anything new that you want us to add to the site.
And I want to reiterate a really important point about Law Help, that a lot of people come to Law Help particularly to find help. And we have these live chat volunteers, law students who provide live help. But another thing that we've seen a lot of is that a lot of other internet like AI bots are using Law Help information in their own answers. So a lot of times, if you are concerned about there being misinformation out there, putting better information on Law Help actually makes there be better information that people get, even if they don't come to Law Help to get it. So we want to make sure that anyone's in legal crisis is getting the right information, whether they get it from going directly to your website or going to Law Help. And a lot of people do go directly to an AI bot to ask a legal question, and we would rather them get the right information. So unfortunately, that means that they're going to ChatGPT or somewhere else. If we have better information on our side, it means they're more likely to get better information elsewhere. So thank you to the Law Help team, really fighting the fight of getting accurate information online. I'm going to now turn it over to the DEI and Racial Justice team.
And that is still me. Just a few more moments of listening to me talk. Hi, all. We have a large and mighty diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and racial justice team at LAAC. Everyone you have already met, except for Yoslin, is not here today, but Katie, Yoslin, Kasha, Rian, and myself help move the work forward. We'll be talking primarily about our external facing work, but for our DEI ARJ work, we very much see LAAC's role as coordinating, bringing organizations together, and helping uplift the knowledge that you all have, uplift all the work that you're doing, and seeing ourselves as a platform for exchanging resources and building power to move the work forward. So I'll be talking about a few of our offerings within that. Um, First and foremost, one of our big projects is our affinity groups. This is a project that Rhiannon and I steward. It's been mentioned a few times already on the call, but in brief, we launched these in 2023. We currently have two with the long-term plans of launching out more. But yeah, these are very much spaces to, again, build community between staff at organizations, share knowledge, share tools to move the work forward. The two that we have one, our DEI ARJ affinity group, which is for staff who work on their organization's DEI, ARJ work. We do a lot of strategizing around how organizations can move that work forward. It's a really wonderful, vibrant community of practice. And then, yeah, this year we've done a lot of focus on escalating attacks against DEI, ARJ work, which has been hard, but again, a really wonderful and fruitful space to come together and talk about those things. And then our other affinity group is we have a legal worker affinity group, which we define broadly as any non-attorney staff. We know non-attorney staff hold so much diversity in our community and don't always get the attention or resources that they deserve. So this group is a project and trying to rectify that. Yeah, again, another space for non-attorney staff to gather, build relationships with each other, and help us better identify and support the needs. And we are, I will talk about it in just a moment, but also launching in collaboration with the training team, which has 100% overlap with the DEI ARJ team, a new training series just for legal workers. But yeah, both groups meet monthly. I would say we have a good portion of member organizations represented at both of these, but it could be more. If you are not coming, you are missing out. So if you have staff members who might be interested in either of these, we would love to see you there. So please reach out to me at tsraymond@laaconline.org, and I can send you more information as well as calendar invites for our monthly meetings. And then a quick roundup of some of the other coordination and training work. As I mentioned, we've been doing a lot around ongoing escalating attacks and executive orders against DEI in the nonprofit sector. We've done 2 different webinars with One Justice and the other one with One Justice and California Change Lawyers on general legal materials and helping organizations strategize about how to keep doing that work, expand the work while being aware of the risks and strategizing around mutual support and community defense. Yeah, we have more in the work specifically to have more space for community conversations and strategizing around the current political moment. As I mentioned, we're working with the trainings team to launch a new series specifically tailored to the needs of non-attorney staff that will be launching in the very near future. So keep an eye out for those announcements. We would love to see some of your staff there. And then, yeah, our coordination work continues. We have the Ideal Toolkit, which is a general guide, kind of introduction to DEI, specifically from a legal aid lens. We have a repository of community resources on the State Bar's DEI leadership skill, all of which we'd be happy to share with you. So feel free to reach out if you're interested in either of those things. And that is a brief overview, and I can pass it over to Rhiannon to talk about our Dan Bradley work.
Hey everybody, Rianne again. I do lead a lot of our pipeline work, which is usually like from legal aid to the judiciary work, trying to encourage and give support to legal aid attorneys to become judges and diversify the bench. But also part of that pipeline work is the law student to legal aid pipeline. And I think Selena shared a link earlier that we do a survey on every year about how you pay your law students. And here's just our way of also trying to support that work, which is that LAAC offers the Dan Bradley Fellowship to fund law students who want to spend their summer working at a LAAC member legal aid organization. We fund up to $8,000 for them to spend the summer at one of your organizations. It's usually to do either racial justice work or rural work. And yeah, we're always looking at ways to improve this fellowship. We have some ideas for next year. And we also like to keep in contact with our Dan Bradley Fellows and create sort of a alumni network with them, hoping that we one day see them in the legal aid community with us.
This one is me, and this is a late entry in the slides because I realized that because we have all of our members here, I wanted to share a new resource. In partnership with One Justice, we're launching a new resource library. And you can access it now if you'd like. It is in beta version. There are fake templates on there, but I wanted to share why we're doing this and why we thought it was so important to create this resource for everyone. If you are looking for a template, and who has a policy on remote work, who has a policy on sabbaticals, who has a policy on donating sick leave, those are in the listservs all the time. I'm often seeing who has a policy on this, and it's really the luck of a draw of who's on their email that day and sees it. The perfect model may be out there, but the person who has that is on vacation and doesn't see your email. So we have created a resource library at calegalAidResources.org. It's only for the IOLTA community and those who are in the Bay Area and beyond social justice group. It's all legal organizations. And so it's just going to be within our community. And the way that you can do is you can upload it, you can tag it, and then if you're looking for resources, you can see what everyone else has posted. Right now, I'd say that we're in wish list mode. So if there's something that you're looking for, let me know and I'll see if anyone is willing to post it. But it is like just now launching. We are true looking for user testers. So part of it is a library of policies, procedures, templates, and it's all kind of related to the way you run your organization. And then the other part of it is a consultant library. I think I see common in a listserv is, hey, who has a great DEI consultant? Who has a great consultant for, launching a new website? So when we have these consultants and we want to recommend them to others, we are now going to have a library where you can say, I worked with so-and-so. I rate them very highly. I really recommend that others work with them. And that way you're not relying again on just like who happens to see your email when you're asking for help. If you would like to test it and you'd like to upload some templates, let me know, because we're giving DoorDash cards to the first 20 people who upload something and tell me how it worked. We will feed you because we really want this to be a great resource. So that is our resource library. And then the next slide is, I'm sorry, this is boring, but I always say that we do this at the annual meeting because it's in our bylaws that we share with you our financials. So this is our financials for the fiscal year that closed. Like many of you, we're on a July to June fiscal year. Our audit is basically complete. It hasn't been posted yet because the board needs to approve it, but these are our audited financials. We have grown significantly over the past 10 years and even grown over the past 3 or 4 years. You'll see here that most of our revenue comes from our members. This is why we really do rely on you for our core services. We also get contributions, but a lot of those contributions you see there are for our fiscal projects. They don't support LAAC core programs. We have some government supports. That's our contract with the state bar or government grants. And then we have some other sources of revenue. But most of our expenses are personnel. It's the people you see on the Zoom today. We have other program and operating expenses. So for our executive director retreat, our training programs. But you'll see here that we put a lot of funding back out into the pipeline. So we have our Dan Bradley Summer Fellowships that Rianne presented on. We also are the fiscal home for the Legal Services Funders Network Fellowship Program. And we are still sponsoring for just a little bit longer the Self-Represented Litigation Network. That project has largely has gone to the home of Stanford Law School, but we still hold a small piece of that. So it's now the A to J Access to Justice Network. So if you're not part of that network, I encourage you to join because it's a great national group looking at a lot of issues that your clients also face, but with a lens of who doesn't get access to a legal aid attorney for help. We ended the year with like a $10,000 deficit, so I'm calling that a balanced budget. And that is the last of our presentation. Thank you everyone who joined and listened to us talk at you. Please now, so thank you so much for being a member of LAAC. We're going to stop recording now.